But with that said, let me just say, I am not going to respond in kind and attack this anonymous person. By the way, have you seen all that it's anonymous?
Yeah.
If you're going to say something that attacks somebody, have the guts to stand up and do it, right, folks? Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. That's just basic stuff. But I am getting in this race. I got in this race because I saw what happened in 2010. 2010 was unacceptable at every single level. And to quote Howard Dean recently, we need to fight harder. That's what we need to do. We need to stand up and have someone, I think, at the chair that's standing up and getting earned media and going back out. We lost the governor's office, the Secretary of State's office, the 2nd Congressional District, and 8 House seats. You talk about where the rubber meets the road, right? You know this. It's right there in that legislature right now, and they are barely have a majority. If we lose any ground there, you know, God help us what's going to happen up there in the legislature with this current governor. So we need to put a stop to it. I want to stand up. I want to respond to when her words or her conduct are bad for New Mexicans. Okay? We need to get, and it's not just an email blast to all of us. We're preaching to the choir, folks. We need to get the earned media so that the regular Joe out there, who's not active like all of you are active, the regular Joes listen to the BS on the talk radio on 770 AM, they hear something else once in a while. They hear the other story. Because right now, we have done a miserable job of getting our message out. That's my position. Now, on a national level, as Democrats in the last election, did it feel like we were apologizing for passing health care? I mean, shame on us.
There was an apology.
but it felt like we were apologizing. And that's what our message was. And I disagree with that. I think we ought to stand up because, as you just said, we're right on the issues. And the American public will agree with us on almost every one of the issues that we stand up for as Democrats. But that message isn't getting out. And we don't do it. I mean, this thing right now, what's going on right now with the New Mexico gas, with the gas, who is being affected by this the most?
The poor people.
The poor people. Folks really poor who desperately need that. And who is at fault here?
Texas.
The governor's friends, right?
Yeah.
The governor's friends.
Texas electricity.
If I was state chair right now, I would be getting earned media blasting this. But we're not doing that right now. And that's not an attack on Javier. He's a good man and a good Democrat, and I have nothing against the man. But we need a change, because let me tell you something. If we do the same thing in 2012 that we did in 2010, we're probably going to get the same result. Because that's what I've learned in practicing law and being a professional. And if you do the same thing over and over again, and then you wonder why is the result not different? So I say we need to stand up, number one. The number one job of a state chair should be getting Democrats elected. Now, once said, then he needs to implement plans to do that. I believe that we elect Democrats from the bottom up, okay? No one wants to see our president reelected more than me, although he mentioned something about tort reform in his speech, but that's okay, all right? That's just fine, because tort reform under President Obama would be a heck of a lot better than any other time. But that's fine. We need to elect our senator. We need to send him back to help us protect our environment and come up with new green energy ways of doing things to build our green economy. We obviously have a congressional district that we just lost down south. Is everybody here willing to give up on it now? No way should we give up on that. And we've got redistricting coming up. That's going to be a big battle. And by the way, who knows who the actual parties to the lawsuit when it ends up in court, because we've got a Republican governor, we got a Democratic legislature. It's going to court, folks. So it's Republicans versus the Republican Party versus the Democratic Party. We better have our stuff together on that fight.
Give it to a commission.
Well, then it's going to end up in court any way you look at it, because nobody's going to agree.
It's cost us millions.
Yes, it costs us millions. It does cost us millions.
Us, who can't afford it.
I understand that, but we can't lie down here. We can't lie down and let the Republicans get all that.
But why can't we establish a commission?
I have no problem if the legislature wants to establish a commission to do that. All I'm saying is we can't, for 1 second, not fight on every single bit of that. We have to.
Well, who do you mean by we? The legislators?
Of course, the legislators,
Okay,
the
the
parties.
legislators saw us down the river every time.
All right, let me keep going here, and then I'm going to answer all your questions. I promise you. Let me just say this as well. When I talk about electing Democrats from the bottom up, many times people go out and vote because they know someone locally who's running, right? So they go out and vote. So the key is to make sure that they're voting, and they're voting Democrat all the way up. We have to get more Democrats registered. We can never fall down on that. When they do go vote, we have to make sure they all vote, and we have to make sure that they vote Democrat. Voting Democrat means getting our message out. That takes money. Now, that is the ugly part of politics that I think everybody in this room knows. And the Republicans do a heck of a job raising money, don't they? They spend a fortune. And they're going to continue to the way the current law is, right? They're going to get to continue to. I'm telling you, I think the next state chair himself needs to raise $500,000. The next state chair himself needs to raise $500,000 and have a complete 33-county plan on how to make sure that every single Democrat gets out and votes Democrat, because let's not forget, Gore won this state by 600 votes. So if we ignore Otero County down in Alamogordo because they always vote Republican and all their elected officials are Republican, and we don't get out every possible Democrat we can, shame on us if we lose by a couple hundred votes for President Obama out of New Mexico. That cannot happen. And the way I think you do that is to get the resources from the state party into the county parties as well. We've never done that. Last 2010, say what you want, it's my opinion that we'd had no coordinated effort in this state. It was not coordinated the way it should have been. It could have been a lot better. We could have had so many more grassroots Democrats active in helping us do that. It didn't happen. Let me say this. I really believe in my heart of hearts that we have the greatest party, the Democratic Party, that the world's ever done, because we have done more progressive good things for people in this country through the years than anybody else has ever done, I think, in the history of mankind as a political party. But if we continue not to get our message out, if we continue to allow ourselves to sit on our hands, this is a sign. If we continue to let ourselves sit on our hands and be somewhat complacent, like I think we were the last election. We had a great election with President Obama winning, right? We're all jumping up for joy. We got young people totally above the president did, along with a lot of other organizations like this. But we didn't get young people involved in this last race. And by the way, it wasn't the Republicans that elected Governor Martinez. It was Democrats.
Democrats who stayed home.
Democrats who stayed home, and Democrats who voted for him.
Yeah.
And Democrats who really voted. And what does that say about our party? If we are not getting our message out to northern New Mexico, of all places, for example, and allowing generations of Democrat families, people to go out and vote, it's not acceptable. But we have a Republican governor right now. If we don't start standing up, we can send out an email blast to 1,000 Democrats saying Harrison Schmidt is terrible. Okay, but where is the state chair getting up in front of the television on KOB going, Harrison Schmidt went to outer space and never came back? Because that's what we're dealing with here, but we're not getting that message out, folks. And it's, what I'm saying, yes, we need to be updated. We need to be updated on everything that's going on as Democrats from the party. That's very important. But we also need a party leader who is willing to stand up and call the governor out on issues with earned media, so that on the 6 o'clock news it's on there, so that on the radio or the talk shows, the Villanucci shows and the Bob Clark in the morning, it's talked about. I was down, by the way, I've traveled, I think, 19 counties now I've visited, and people are hungry still to get some leadership to where the counties, not just Bernalillo, but the rest of the state can participate. There are a lot of good Democrats out there, and they feel ignored. They feel like they didn't get their voice heard. I've heard story after story about people calling up, wanting to volunteer and get signs delivered one way or the other, and the party said, we'll let you know when we can get to you. That's not right, and that's not the way it should be. Anybody that calls that state party should be able to get an answer when they need it and get resources when they want them. Anybody willing to volunteer an election not getting what they need to go volunteer, shame on the party for that. I think it needs to be changed. It's a cultural change. It's a mindset change. And I think that I would bring that to us. Because I know that together, all of you, all of the people in the state that are active in the Democratic Party, we can go back and we can elect a president. We can elect Senator Bregman back to Washington. We can win the 2nd Congressional District, and we can increase our majorities in the legislature. And there should never be a Republican that runs for office unchallenged.
Right.
Too often that happens in this state because we just give up and we quit. That's nonsense. You challenge them, you make them spend their resources on every race they want to be elected to. You've heard enough from me. Now listen, for the last 2 days I've been in this jury trial, so I've been getting to ask a lot of questions and just beating up the witnesses terribly. However, you guys can give it back to me right now. Ask me any question you like about anything I want to